This weekend, in front of about 100,000 people and half the planet, a man in a plain training jacket will walk up those steps and lift the World Cup. Not a player. The coach. The man who picked the team, planned the traps, and carried a nation's blood pressure for a month. And in that exact moment, confetti falling, cameras flashing, he will be one of the most underpaid men in the stadium. Not compared to the players, compared to the substitutes. The two coaches in this final earn about 2 million euros a year. The average Premier League player, not the star, the average one, earns nearly double that. Erling Haaland earns more in 5 months than both of these coaches earn in a year. Combined. Here's the number that should break your brain. Do the exact same job at a big club and the market pays 20 million. Do it for your country, with the whole world watching, and the market pays 2. Same job, 90% less. That gap has a name. We call it the Patriot discount. And once you see how it works, you'll never watch a trophy lift the same way again. This is the wage bill. We read the payslips football doesn't publish. Start with the table nobody shows you on match day. 48 coaches came to this World Cup. At the top of the pay table, Carlo Ancelotti. Brazil pays him 10 million euros a year. The most expensive national coach on earth. The most decorated club manager of his generation, hired to end a quarter century of Brazilian pain. Below him, Germany pays Julian Nagelsmann 7 million. The United States pays Mauricio Pochettino 6. England pays Thomas Tuchel just under 6. 4 men. 29 million euros a year between them. And here's the thing about all 4 of those contracts. Every single one of them is watching this final from home. Because the 2 men actually standing on the touchline this weekend are the 2 cheapest coaches at the top table. Spain pays Luis de la Fuente 2 million a year. He's already won them a European championship. Argentina pays Lionel Scaloni 2.3 million. The man is the reigning world champion. He has already done once the thing every federation on earth is desperate to buy. And he earns less than a quarter of what Brazil pays Ancelotti to attempt it. The scoreboard says the cheap coaches won. The payslips say nobody's told the market. Quick word from the ledger itself. This channel does one thing. We read the payslips, football doesn't publish. Who gets paid, who doesn't, and who's quietly holding the bill. A new ledger opens every week. If that's your kind of football, subscribe. The next slip is already on the desk. So what does the same job pay when a club writes the contract? Diego Simeone, Atletico Madrid, £25.9 million a year. The most expensive manager in world football. Pep Guardiola, Manchester City, 20 million, before bonuses. Mikel Arteta, Arsenal, around 10. Line them up against the 2 men in this final, and the picture gets absurd. Simeone earns roughly 13 de la Fuentes. Pep earns about 9 Scalonis, and Scaloni has the one trophy Pep has spent his whole career without. Now bring the players back in. The average Premier League salary is about £67,000 a week, 4.1 million a year. That means the average player in England's top flight out-earns both men in this final. Not the captains, the average. And Haaland? 525,000 a week. One player at one club earns roughly 6 times what both World Cup final coaches earn put together. The man who decides everything earns less than the men he sends on in the 85th minute. Why? Not sentiment, not tradition. It's structural, and it's hiding in who actually signs the check. Here's the mechanism, and it's brutally simple. A coach's wage isn't priced by the job. It's priced by the employer's balance sheet. Manchester City is a machine. Matchday revenue, global TV deals, shirt sales, sponsorship stacked on sponsorship. Hundreds of millions flowing through every season, 60 matches a year to sell. When Pep asks for 20 million, he's asking for a slice of an empire. A national federation is not an empire. Strip the badge away, and most of them are non-profits, funded by FIFA distributions, a handful of sponsors, and whatever a dozen home fixtures bring in. Spain's federation doesn't own a stadium full of season tickets. Argentina's federation doesn't sell 400,000 shirts a week. Same job on the touchline. Completely different machine behind the desk, and the market knows something else. A national coach works maybe 10 to 15 matches a year. A club coach grinds through 50 or 60. On a per-match basis, the gap narrows, but nobody lifts a trophy on a per-match basis. Think about what Scaloni actually carried for that $2.3 million. The last World Cup final, a penalty shootout, 46 million Argentinians treating every touch like a referendum on his existence. Pep, for 9 times the money, has never once had to survive that. The discount isn't a discount on the work, it's a discount on the machine that pays for it. Now follow the prize money, because this is where the Patriot discount stops being a quirk and starts being a business model. This World Cup pays out $871 million, a record. The federation that wins on Sunday banks $50 million in prize money, over $63 million once you count the guaranteed payments every qualifier receives. And the asymmetry runs all the way down the table. Every single federation that qualified for this World Cup was guaranteed at least $10.5 million before a ball was kicked. Which means a team that crashed out in the group stage, bottom of the table, 0 points, still flew home with 5 times the winning coach's annual salary in its federation's account. Read that again. Losing, as an institution, pays better than winning does as the man responsible for it. The tournament's total pot, $871 million, flows almost entirely to the machines. The 48 men on the touchlines, the ones whose decisions the entire show depends on, are collectively a rounding error on it. So run the numbers on the winning coach. He delivers a $50 million check to his employer on a roughly €2 million salary. That's a 20-to-1 return before you count a single shirt sold or sponsor renewed. And that $50 million? It lands in the federation's account. Youth programs, facilities, executive salaries, the next 4 years of the machine. Whether the coach who delivered it sees a bonus is, at most federations, a discretionary line someone else writes. The man with his fingerprints all over the biggest check in football doesn't get to cash it. By the way, this is exactly what we do here every week. Follow one check through football's ledger until it stops somewhere interesting. If you want the next one on your homepage instead of the algorithms, subscribe. The ledger doesn't close, which leaves the real puzzle. These are the smartest negotiators in sport, advised by the same agents who squeeze clubs for $20 million a year. They know the number is wrong, so why do they keep signing? Because the payslip is missing a line, and every coach in the world can read it anyway. No club trophy on earth makes you immortal at home. Win the league at City, and you're a champion until August. Win the World Cup for Argentina, and there are children being named after you in Rosario for the next 50 years. Ancelotti has won everything a club can offer. Brazil isn't paying him $10 million for tactics. They're paying for the one line missing from his collection. That's the Patriot discount, priced from the other side. Federations pay 90% less because they're selling the only thing the club machine can't print. Immortality. The market isn't broken, it's just honest about what it's really selling. So this weekend, when the camera finds the winning coach, before the confetti, before the anthem, remember the 2 numbers walking up those steps with him. The $50 million his employer just banked and the $2 million they pay him to have made it happen. He knew the numbers. He signed anyway. That's either the worst contract in football or the only one that was ever about something else. And we genuinely can't decide which. Tell us in the comments, would you take 90% less to coach your country? Or is the Patriot discount just exploitation with a flag on it? This has been The Invisible Ledger. Next week, we open another payslip football never meant you to read. Subscribe and see the money before the crowd does.